Hello, good people of YouTube, Mountbatten here, and today we are finally discussing the changes coming with the Commander rework now that we all have access to the public test server. So, what's pretty neat about this public test server is that it actually brings over most of your account from the main server to the test server, so you can mess with all your ships and stuff with the different Commander builds and all that jazz. However, there's a really weird thing that happened to my account, at least my Shikishima didn't make it over for some reason, but like my Stalingrad did. So that's a bit weird. When I saw that the Shikishima was missing, I'm like, oh, maybe, still ships didn't make it over, but my Stalingrad's sitting there chilling in port. So, okay, kind of weird, but I wasn't able to test out Shikishima, unfortunately. That was one that I really wanted to see how this affected her. So anyway, first off, the UI changes to the commander system. I actually like it. Looks a lot cleaner. And what's really cool is that when you go through, so you have a commander that has multiple skill points on it, like in this instance, they do give you a 21 skill point commander from each nation, so you can, play around with the builds and stuff. So when you go through and you select multiple captain skills, you can actually choose them first and then master them, whereas in the old system you had to go through and click on each one and master that skill individually. So here, if like you're respecing or anything, you can just go through, select all the captain skills, and then master them all at once, which I thought was pretty cool. Not a big change or anything like that, not like a revolutionary change, but just some like convenient stuff. That was pretty nice. And again, the UI changes, I think it's makes the game look a little sharper and all that jazz. But anyway, so what did I do and how did I conduct my little experiments here? Well, what I did was I chose 4 ships, 4 very strong secondary ships on the current iteration of Warships that's on the live server. The GK, the Tirpitz, and the Odin, and then the Ohio. Ohio pretty much has the same secondary suite as Massachusetts, as Georgia. They're all pretty much the same with a little bit of range difference there, but gun-wise, it's pretty much the same guns. And of course, Odin, Tirpitz, and GK, or German Battleships, some of the strongest secondary ships in game right now. Now, what changed about the secondary skills? Well, what pretty much happened was BFT got, deleted, and AFT got moved to a 3-point skill, but, yeah, it's really weird. I don't think you can really compare it to AFT or BFT anymore. The secondary skills that we have now, they're pretty different. So instead of having BFT as a 3-point skill, we now have Auxiliary Ballistics Expert, which increases your secondary battery firing range by 20%. So AFT pretty much. And then we have, of course, but it doesn't affect other caliber guns, because the whole system has been reworked to where even cruisers and destroyers can't choose from this skill set anymore. And then we have main gun and secondary battery reload expert, which is kind of what BFT is now, but it's of course different. This is a 4-point skill. So this decreases your secondary battery reload time by 10%. But also when you're within secondary range of a target, your main battery also gets a 10% boost to its reload time. So that's pretty nice, not gonna lie. And then manual fire for secondaries is now secondary battery expert. To where you can click on a target and your secondaries will focus on that target. But instead of getting a 65% boost to your accuracy, you only get a 35% boost to your accuracy now. However, the other side of your ship can also fire too with its secondaries, because before, with manual fire for secondaries, all the secondary guns are trying to shoot whatever target you selected, and obviously if the guns are on one side of your ship, they're trying to shoot the a ship that's on the other side of your ship, and they will ignore anything that pops up in their secondary range. And this is by far the biggest change to the skill system for secondaries. If manual fire would have stayed the same, then honestly, not much would have changed about the secondary battleships that we have now. They would be performing about the same. However, as you can see on screen right now, I went to co-op battles, not random battles. I chose co-op because I didn't want to waste time just sitting in queue on the PT server, because there's not a whole lot of people on. Well, at least when I get on, at least. And plus, with the way the game's played now, as we all know, games are very far apart. So I wanted to get some quick tests in, just see how the secondaries performed, and bots kind of just, they hold down W and they go for it. So I'm going to be showing you guys some clips from the Odin, GK, Tirpitz, and the Ohio. The GK should be on right now. If you can't tell, boy, are the secondaries way, way, way less accurate. It honestly looks like if you would go right now on the main server and just put the secondary modules on, which by the way, none of the modules or anything like that's changed, so that's all still the same. You just put those secondary modules on, don't take manual fire for secondaries, and just take BFT and AFT. That's pretty much around the accuracy that you're getting now. I know it does give you a 35% boost to accuracy, and I think there's a clip with the Ohio later on when you can see me, the secondary start firing on the target, then you can see me click on the target, and then you can see the boost to the accuracy there, but that's with the American secondaries, and those are, well, we'll get to those in a second. So, with the GK, the only reason that the GK does as well as it does in the clips that you're watching with the secondaries is just due to the amount of secondaries that she has on her. And something to note with the GK, I did not have the boost to the, what's it called, secondary ballistician or whatever, the boost to the reload time equipped. I didn't have that skill equipped because I was still using Lucians. I had to convert XP after this match to get Lucians up to 21 skill points. I forgot that the skill point cap got raised. So the only thing missing with this clip is the secondaries firing a little bit faster. But due to the amount of secondaries that the GK has on her, that's how she's able to do pretty well in this situation. Now, do keep in mind, too, this is with Lucians on the 3 German battleships. I wanted to give them, the best case scenario. Lucians with his secondary armament expert skill being activated on top of all the skills and modules, too. That way, this is like giving this new skill system the best shake that it can possibly get in order to show how the secondaries will perform. And again, a lot of these situations that you're seeing me get in with these German battleships are like, the dream round, where you have ships that just derp toward you and they're all within your secondary battery range and your secondaries are just going off constantly. There are moments where I do make great use of both sides of my secondaries. They both get to really dig into some ships and stuff. And if this is honestly how the game was, you had engagements like this going on, not even all the time, just in like every 2 or 3 games while ships are just, bull rushing you like these bots are. Honestly, this rework would probably be fine for Germans if the game was actually like this. But we all know the game isn't actually like this. These are just bots. Games go on for sometimes 10-15 minutes before you can actually get within secondary range with German battleships, and you really need that accuracy, like with the GK. You want to target down a certain ship, you want to focus all your guns on that ship. You try to keep all the ships on one side of your ship, that way you can keep all your guns on target. Another thing to note too is that these skills don't buff AA anymore. BFT and AFT gives you a boost to your AA, although again, with AA being AA right now, it doesn't really do a whole lot right now on the main server. But without these boosts to your AA, it's just going to do even less once this rework goes live. So your already pathetic AA is going to be even more pathetic unless you spec into the new AA skills, which obviously then you can't spec into your secondary battery anymore, which that sucks. Also, I think that GK clip should be done right now. You should be probably watching the Odin clip. DDs. DDs are going to be such a pain now for Germans, for any secondary ship, except for the Americans. Again, we'll get to them in a moment. The accuracy is atrocious at any range that isn't like 3 kilometers away against, battleships and cruisers. But then throw DDs in there, DDs being small, very fast ships, it's pathetic. It really is. So the clip you should be watching right now is from the Odin, and I'm trying to engage at I think some French DD. I think it's the Le Fantastique, I think. And I get like 5 hits on it from like I think 9 to 10 kilometers away, with my secondaries being focused on it for a pretty decent amount of time. Where if this was on the Odin that we have now in the main server, I wouldn't have ripped him apart, no, but he certainly would be feeling a lot more pain than this bot Le Fantastique is feeling right now. And that's like, because, secondaries are supposed to be not only great at dealing damage to destroyers, to cruisers and battleships when you get into brawling situations, but also DD repellent. Because DDs can't rush you if you have a secondary build, because they will pay for it right now with any German battleship or any American secondary battleship, or especially the French battleships with the like the Alsace and the Republic. You have secondary builds on those bad boys, and DD tries to rush you, and your secondaries are intact in a French battleship because they forgot to put armor on them. Oh god, they're going to get ripped a new one. Especially like the Shikishima with its amazing DPM too, which I'm very sad I couldn't get to test her on this server. So yeah, your effectiveness against DDs just goes through the floor. And then now imagine what this accuracy you're seeing now at 12.5 kilometers. You ain't hitting nothing at that range. A stray shell may hit a ship every now and then at 12.5 kilometers, unless it's like a battleship, obviously, or a super cruiser. But the effectiveness of secondaries, this rework is really just shoving them through the floor. Now, again, they did say they will buff the base stats of ships based upon their performance. So, hopefully, that does happen to the German battleships. One last clip from the Germans here. Should be the Turbis clip right now, and you've probably noticed this in the Odin clip too. The time it takes for me to get Lucian's skill to pop, which is just 100 secondary hits for him to pop that secondary armored expert skill, it takes way too long compared to what we have now on the main server. It doesn't take long at all for that skill to get popped on Lucian's, which is why I do recommend you guys get him for a brawler build for Germans, because he's fantastic for it. Because 100 secondary hits with the German battleship, that's nothing. That happens like the first couple of minutes of engagement with German secondaries against pretty much any target that isn't just a DD that you see for a couple of seconds. And it takes forever for that skill to pop in both the Odin clip and the Tirpitz clip. With the GK clip, I was surrounded on one side by the GK and then Yami on the other side with both of GK secondaries going, so it didn't take too long that time just because of the sheer volume of secondary fire. But even in the Tirpitz clip right here, where I really get into the thick of it with the Tirpitz, it takes forever for the skill to pop because the guns are so inaccurate now, and it's really sad. It really is, seeing ships that I know can just shred DDs and light cruisers with their secondaries if they get within secondary range, just being like this. Now there are some moments where like in the Tirpitz clip where I do have both sides going, and was actually giggling to myself with the amount of secondaries being fired. But then if you look at the amount of secondaries being fired versus the hits that I'm getting, it's like, god dang. Like, the sheer amount of shells being pumped out versus the return on those hits is garbage. It really is. And it's just like, I don't know who asked for this. I've seen a couple of comments where people complain that one side of your secondaries aren't firing, but it's literally been like, I think 3 or 4 comments that I can remember at least. And also, who thought secondaries needed to be nerfed this much? Because in my opinion, I'm pretty sure most players' opinion, this is a straight up nerf to secondary builds, a big nerf, if they don't change it. Because again, they did say that they would buff the base stats of these ships if needed, and I certainly think it is very much needed here. Okay, so last clip, the Ohio. The Ohio and the American secondaries, like many of us discussed on stream and in Discord, they're not really affected that much. Basically, the American secondaries are as accurate as German secondaries are now with manual fire for secondaries. As you can see here with the Ohio, no problem getting these hits in, even though they are battleships, but you can see the grouping's much, much, much tighter than the Germans. And yeah, they're freaking fine. They should still be able to hit ships with pretty good accuracy. They won't be laser accurate like they are now, because if you're a DD and you get within Ohio's secondary battery range now, you better get out because you're going to die. You're going to die real fast. American secondaries are insanely accurate. They're called lasers for a reason because they are literally laser accurate now on the live server. But this is just taking them now to the German secondary accuracy on the live server, and Americans should still be fine. I don't see why they wouldn't be, even if they don't buff them at all. I don't think they need to be buffed because you're still hitting targets pretty regularly with this rework. And as you see the Ohio clip here, I have a freaking fantastic match. Again, it's against bots and they're just derping into me. But, you know, again, Ohio does freaking great here. This is the only match where I got over 400 secondary hits with any of these secondary battleships, which, you know, 400 secondary hits, it's a pretty, not a high mark, but it's a really good match when you have that many secondary hits in a German battleship. And it's not rare, you know, you have to have certain things happen in game to have them a round like that, but when you do have rounds like that, these are normally your 200k rounds, you know, that weekly 250k battle that you get that just makes you feel like a god. That's normally what happens with the Germans because of the amount of damage secondary batteries do. So comparing the amount of damage done in the Tirpitz game, had about 85,000 damage done with the secondary battery, which is pretty decent. But again, the amount of shells I was putting out and the situation I was in, yeah, with that 32mm of pen on most of those secondary guns. Some of them can only been 26, but still it was a tier 6 match, so that didn't matter all that much. So pretty decent round there. Odin only got 32,000 damage between the secondaries and the fires that they set. So yikes there. Not a lot of damage done. And then with the Ohio, had 98,000 damage done with the secondaries between hits and the fire started by the secondary ship, by the secondary shells. So yeah, pretty big drop in performance there from the Germans. The GK, I unfortunately don't have those end results anymore because I played that match a day before, and you know, when you log out and you log back in, you don't have the after action reports anymore. So yeah, but it's looking like it's going to be rough. So my recommendation to you guys is, if you are still grinding the German battleship line, I would keep going, just because I do not see how they can possibly leave this as is without compensating the Germans in some other way, because the secondary battery is a core part of German battleships. It's supposed to be one of the things that they're really good at. What they're doing right here is nerfing the crap out of them. So they have to buff them in some way. They have to compensate them in some way, be it more accurate main battery guns, or quite simply just increasing the accuracy on the secondary battery guns, which I'm pretty sure they will have to do. If not, and if, you know, this drops in 10.0, and it's like 2 months later and they haven't done anything yet, then you may want to shelf the Germans for a bit and wait for some improvements on them, because it's not going to be an enjoyable experience with the way the game's played now and the way higher tier matches go. And you have these secondaries that can't hit anything from 10 kilometers. Well, can't hit anything like destroyers or light cruisers from 10 kilometers out, and you're only going to be really getting hits against heavy cruisers or super cruisers or battleships from 10 kilometers out. And even then, it's far, far, far less than what you're going to get hits on right now with the current skills that we have in game. But yeah, American battleships, though, they'll be fine, like I thought, and like many of us thought too, that they're still fine. So if you're enjoying your secondary American battleships, you'll certainly be able to enjoy them after this update. Anyway, guys, that's what I got for you today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Go ahead, download the PT server for yourself. Try it out for yourself. It's available to everybody to hop on, and again, they give you some pretty a good amount of goodies to try out on the server, so you can experience this for yourself if you want to, and I do encourage you to do that. Anyway, guys, hope you're having a wonderful Monday. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way now to 25,000 subscribers. Ooh, words are getting very hard for me right now. It's pretty early in the morning. I'm sorry if I sound a little tired throughout this entire video. But anyway, guys, again, hope you're having a wonderful Monday. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.